Okay, guys, it is that time of year again. So as we did last year, and seems to be pretty typical across the space, we're going to offer up a Black Friday special. So we'll be offering this up for the remainder of the week. We'll just run it through Friday. So I think it's very close to what we did last year. So we'll do 30% off of your first month, 35 off of a 3-month, and then one of the big savings is on the 6-monther. We get 40% off. So now look, guys, I don't do a lot of pimping of our membership here. Actually, half the time I forget to mention it. So if I'm doing it, it's for a good reason. I like to think that this is something that might interest prospective members. We are making this available to any and all current members, former members. All right, we got to be fair about that. So that's an option for you if you're interested. You can take advantage of that. Now you do have to use these codes. This will be on our Twitter feed. Oh, if it's not there already. So when you're checking out, if you're going to pursue some of this, you got to put the right code in. That's pretty straightforward. There'll be a little coupon box. I'm sure you've all seen it in checkouts, and that will tally up the discount for you, and it will stay that way. So there you go, right? So if you're a regular viewer here, you'll have to bear with me because I'll be mentioning this all week. But I don't mention it often. So if I'm doing it, it's for a good reason. So I just want you to be aware of that. Again, you can find more out about it over on our Twitter feed. Okay, guys, let's get to the video. Okay, guys, how we doing? Happy Monday. Here we are, the 25th of November, and per our polling today, Link was the clear winner. Now, this is a tricky count. There's no question about it. So I'm going back here to our January lows here. So about everything I've got on Binance. So reasonable assumption that we've got the larger 1-2 is in. Now, of course, bulls are looking at this hoping we're into a 1-2 and we're going up to test that. You have it's sometimes a bit tricky here because we're in the range. We're 4x the range. So going into log scale does help here. It gives you that wave clarity here via the compression. So let's move that just a touch up here. So right. So of course the fib channel here is now basing the retracements off of log scale. So we would have a relatively shallow 2 in log scale. Here we go out of log scale and we break the golden zone. We hold the 786, and it's this structure that seems to be what causes the market to bottom down here, right? So the count with the extension in the fifth seems relatively clear. It's interesting. Now note here from absolute low to the swing high. What do we do right here? Right, so you get the reaction at the golden zone, but eventually, right, the count would not have supported that as the turn, and then we come down. We get the contender here for the A, and it's a skinny B. Like B could be over here. You might have a truncation, but that looks more like 1, 2, 3, 4. Jesus, it's 5 of the 3, and then you get this. You had this spike of volatility that's kind of making for a challenging count here in terms of where to start it. So I'm starting it from that low, and when we go down to the hourly, you'll see why I'm doing that. So the Elliott count, it's a little tricky here. So let's go down to maybe a 3-hour here. I'm going to take this off just for the time being. So let's take this off as well. All right, so this is the tricky part here where we just had this crazy volatility. Well, you can't ignore it. So they're coming off of this pivot high and then the scream lower, we come all the way back. And it looks like that's where we have to dig our 1 out of, because following this spike here, we get this very clean ABC, right? So we can't just go, well, that's inconvenient, right? We can't. We've got to factor it in. So 1-2 seems to be, this is our starting point now here as we blow it up, right? It's not a tick. It's not bouncing to the tick off of that structure, but it's very quickly rejected. You see there's there's no market acceptance here, and then up we go. Now we've looked at this a couple of times in the past. So what makes this tricky is you look at it and you get like an extra leg here. So your eye wants to think, oh, well, this must be 3, 4, 5 going up here. But if you really work through the count, it doesn't look that way. It doesn't support it. So if this were to be the 3, you'd be pushing here, trying to dig the 5 out of there. It's already, that'd be a little bit of a force fit. So right now, I think what we have here, and this is, not unlike what we're seeing in a number of the majors here, is this expanded B wave here. So it would appear that if this is all connected here, if this is my initial impulse, which I think there's a solid case for that, then we've got an A coming down here. So we get 3 into an A. We'd have to trade this 3 into an expanded B. Now, so first thing you got to do is just check, see, how far are we gone relative to the A? So let me just change the template here. So we're, this is about where you'd anticipate it between the the 1 2 3 6, the 1 3 8, anywhere in that range. Pretty typical for an expanded B wave here. Now, of course, right, counts get invalidated all the time, but right now I think this appears to be a better fit for an A, B, and then I get a clear impulse coming down here giving me a potential pivot. So we'd have that candidate here for the ABC to completed to have given us the 1 2. All right, so then you got to decide where are you pulling your pivot from. All right, so if we go to our absolute low here, I got to change my template back. Let's go back to a measured move here. So if we come to this, interesting, huh? All right, so now we're right into the golden zone, and that's just in arithmetic. So if we go to log scale, not a dramatic difference because now we're not looking at the full range of it. No, we wouldn't quite have. Yeah, we probably would have just enough here to warn it, but I don't think you need to be in log scale there. It's not enough of a difference. So I think you got to go 1 2 3 4, and part of that is based off of. Let me open this up so we can see this, because this is what's making this tricky. So if this is 1 2, if we just take the length of the proposed 1 here and project from our proposed 2, assuming I've got that. Let me pull back out a little bit. Right, so that's a big rip here, right? So if this is 1 2, right? So to go beyond the 2 6 1 8 relative to that 1 2, that's high probability that's your third, right? Now it looks like you'd have to pull a subdivision out of that, so that looks like the third, fourth, and fifth of the third, right? So you got a little bit of a tricky count there. There could be. Well, so either you have to live with a very shallow 2, or you got to pull the 1 2 down here, and then you'd have to go 3 4 big extension in the 5. Either way, by my eye, this looks like this is all self-contained. So we don't get a perfect algo pivot at the top. All right, so length of the proposed third here, we come, right, note Vegas wave, how it holds it. We come to the 233, we get our bounce here, but then it does look like we get a clear ending diagonal to pull out of this, right? So it's extreme, the wave measurement, right? We've talked about this before. So 3 is longer than 1, 5 longer than 3. You've got a good candidate here for the ending diagonal to put in the 5 of the 1, which means by process of elimination, we got to work with the expanded B into the low here. So if we now go from the low to the proposed wave 1 high, all right, well, so I got to pull this one off. So bring you back down here, and there we sit, golden zone. So I think this is a candidate. All right, it's a little shaky here. All of crypto is a little shaky at the moment. But if we're going to come out of here, you've heard me talk about this before. Very uncommon to pivot from one retracement zone to the next. So very common to go from the 618 to the 50. Now we've gone to the 50, had a little pause, and now pushing towards the 382. So this is a contender, right, to be getting started into a 1 2 3 4 5. Right, that would be just the if this count holds, right? And it's, we'll see if it holds. But if this holds, we'd have our low end for the 1 2, and we'd be looking for the 1 of the third, because the targets up here are going to be, right, they're way the hell up here. So just that third would be up here. So this, if we get this kind of reaction, even just getting a motive wave out of here, we're not likely going to put in the third from here. So we're going to go 1 2, and then likely the one going in towards the third. So you do have some potential here to put some geometry together. Now it's right. So you have to ask yourself, wow, am I just accommodating the market here per what I want to see? All right, I want to see that golden zone. But as I've said before, an algorithm is not going to care about an Elliott count. All right, so we get a slight break here. I think I would still consider the long side here if you're going to pull from here to here. Let's go to original. I still think there's a candidate here for a trade to hold within this set of median lines on the buy side here, but I don't like just buying this initial push here. Well, a couple of reasons for that, but of course remember, as we highlight, there's always an algo on the other side, right? So right now, let's see, that's too many of them. Let's get that one out of there. All right, so just coming up here, the next, you'd anticipate some sort of push here. Oh, God damn it, it's hard to get them. What I'm trying to do. All right, so if we're going to push into this zone here, we have point of control. Now, granted, that's visible range, but that, there will be software looking for that, just dominant to dominant. So this is going to need to push through that, right? So we have to get up, perhaps that would not be an unreasonable. We got a little structure here to come up here. Here's the Vegas wave. Have that be the range where you might look for. Now this is going to be the big swing, right? Can we get through that? Right? If so, well, then we got to deal with the big one, which is not inconsequential here. So it would appear, right? Note the perfect reaction at the 50, right? These are, what happened there. So swing high, swing low, we go to the 50, we get a reaction, but it has this little, that's why I'm more inclined to think that this is the B coming down for the C. But if we're going to, as I just was showing you here, first we got to get through this golden zone. So even if we 1, 2, we got to get through on the 3, we're going to bump into all of this action, and that's likely where you could anticipate that would be a reasonable spot. If we're going to get the 1, then that would set us up for all of that to follow. So right now, okay, so it's encouraging. You can get a count on this that makes sense, right? I can live with the expanded B wave here. It's not like we don't see them. And then I think adding the geometry here, I think is reasonable. I don't think this is an unreasonable place to be looking. I might check both of them here and use the Elliott here. So you'd have to really kind of keep an eye on both of them, right? Just to see if this fails, is it perhaps over here, right? We don't know what the market's going to use. I'm more inclined, I like to give it a little more, I like to stay consistent with the Elliott count if it makes sense to do it. So if this is my 1, A into the expanded B down for the C, I kind of like this better, and then of course I get the benefit, right? And again, it could be that this is just what I want to see, and I'm conscious of it. So I'm drawing this up knowing that, right there. So that would give us a perfect golden corner per the Elliott count. So you ponder a little bit there. So given that, I would keep my size a little smaller here on any sort of a buy side because I'm a little unsure. Right? It's not crystal clear as to which pivot is being used. And I think we'll get a better idea when we see some of the reaction, assuming we're going to get up and retrace here. Right? If we're going to get through, well, first let's get through the 38, right? So we got to get up into that, come into that, some of that. So what's the reaction here, right? Because there'll be an algo with that as a target, and then you could kind of see, well, maybe you have to revisit this count because if this is 5 down and we're going to go and break that low, then we're looking at a different count, right? Then we're going to have to revisit this, see if we can get it to make sense to put the 1 over here, because if this is going to go A, B, C, then more likely this is our 1, and the idea of the expanded B wave gets invalidated. Of course, we could have something. We could have a combination, but I don't like to go there until the count literally forces me to do it. If you can, I want to try and keep it simple, right? So I've got a swing low, I've got a high, I've got 2 pivots to choose from. Right, if you're an Elliottician, that's certainly a contender for the 1. If you don't care about the Elliott, you might just work off of the swing high to swing low. Right, so you got some decisions to make here as to how you want to interpret this. So again, I would keep size light here until you get confirmation. Do we have a good pivot? Right now, it's too soon to tell. Now, if we get something like that, right? So if you were to then we're just doing algo ping pong, right? So from this golden zone, that would not surprise me at all, right? So swing to the golden zone, retrace potentially. Now that's just another golden zone, right? So you'd come right to the edge at the golden zone. That I think is very viable, right? I would be watching for that. I do like Link. I trade it right pretty aggressively, but I like the long side. So here is most crypto. So here, if we can get that 1, 2 to play, that's I think. Well, so this algo right here at that golden zone, here's their first target. You'd be looking, this would be the third target here, this red line, which would take us into the median line, and the larger degree from this golden zone, that algo has that target, right? So this guy's looking for that one. This little one is the first target is here, so it's going to need to do a full 3. It does that full 3. Now what are we running into from the top, right? So this is as we just drew this up. Right? So where's the full 3? Right at that golden zone. So you can kind of see if this is going to play, one, are we going to play Elliott ball here? And you can kind of just looking at the pink. So look what we'd be doing here. From a 50 to a golden zone, to a golden zone, we'd have to get through that very golden zone to get to the next golden zone relative to the dominant high, which would give us a 1, 2, 3. Now we're off to the races. Now we'd have a contender for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're getting very bullish because now we're locking in. I mean, with as much as you can, right? So things can change, but then you'd be much more confident in leaning into this as the 1, 2 per the expanded B wave with my 5 down into a golden zone. I'm liking that, the geometry supporting it. Then I'm getting more bullish, right? Particularly on Link, right? So then I can kind of make sense. The count fits, the algo swings, and where I'm anticipating those reactions, that all fits. The geometry fits. So there you go, guys. That's all you get. No guarantees, just probabilities. Right now, the whole function, right now, everything rests on, does this pivot hold, right? So we like to say, well, look, statistically, 80% probability of hitting that median line, but that's only if this pivot holds. So, one to be watching. Okay, guys. I've got, we'll do at least one more. Okay, all right, back to you in a bit.